What's up, guys? We're back with another This Week in Sports, I guess, but we're going to be talking about a lot because it's been a while since we had one of these. Once again, I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves. It's been a while since I've done this.
After you speak in tongues or something, I don't know what just happened there.
Like I said, it's been a while. Like I said, it's been a while.
Hey, this is Marquis Murphy. I'm here trying to represent.
Hi, I'm Ricky Lashley, and hopefully I'll say some things that make sense.
I hope so. So first thing we're going to kick off with is that right after Super Bowl weekend and everything, the AAFL started, and I just want to get your guys' thoughts on how you think about that.
Didn't Johnny Manziel get kicked off the team already?
Well, he
That
was
in
in
Canada.
CFL. Yeah,
That was in
okay.
Canada. Yeah, that was in
So
Canada.
I think but the rumors were that they thought that he was going to probably try to come down and join the AAFL. So
Yeah. Didn't it almost go bankrupt or something? What happened?
man,
with
they the second week or so, they didn't know they was going to be able to make payroll.
They didn't know, but then they had a huge turnout in their by the fans. The fans came out really strong. They actually had way more expect than they were thinking, but it worked out really well. So
That's interesting.
but but y'all I've seen these games and I'm like, there's hitting again.
Wow.
That's one of the things that
And
a
that's
lot
what I
of people
love.
say. Yeah.
Is it kind of like the XFL with
Oh, yeah.
Vince McMahon?
Oh
back in
yeah,
the day?
it's exactly like that. Really, it's just a lot of big hits. Quarterbacks aren't protected anymore. A lot of these kids are trying to make the NFL after the AAFL. So
Wow.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty crazy.
They're just going to change the way that they tackle and the way they go at their quarterback, huh?
Yeah, but you can learn that later if you have all the tangibles that the NFL likes.
That's true. It's just old habits are hard to break.
That's true. That's for sure.
My only thing is, if it's a good product, that's great. But I kind of wish it was. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big football fan, but I like to have the break. So if you go from the NFL, then you go to the AAFL. The next time we're going to have if the X isn't the.
I don't know if they're gonna bring back the XFL fully.
Yeah.
But I know they want to.
I think we need to come up with another sport because there's a little buffer of nothing to do between baseball and football once it's over. Maybe if you throw something in there.
Well, basketball's going on.
No, but even after that, it's there's
it's
a little area where there's no sports going.
It's just baseball. What happens is baseball's going on, and most of us, baseball's the worst sport to watch.
Yeah.
So nobody really wants to sit and watch it. So it doesn't seem like anything's going on.
No one wants to sit and watch it on TV. Now that you're a major fan, but if you go to a game, it's pretty legit.
It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. It's great to go. It's just one of the best pastimes. If you could go and take a family,
it goes
kids.
by so fast and it's so fun.
It does.
But
When
on
you're
the
there,
TV,
it does.
it's
You gotta be there. On TV.
Yeah.
TV, it takes
The
years.
worst.
Yeah, I think it's the atmosphere.
Definitely.
The atmosphere.
All right. Next thing up is that we're just going to be talking about stuff that happened kind of all month because it's been a long time since we've been in here. But probably the first big story that came after, we stopped doing this was Kareem Hunt got signed to the Cleveland Browns. What is y'all's opinions on that? Just the fact that he was kicked out of Kansas City. Let's start at the beginning.
It's unfortunate that he got kicked out. Sometimes when things get heated, especially depending on what type of caliber of person you are, sometimes you need to just walk away. And if you do something, confess. Tell the truth, because then,
True.
your organization can get behind it. We know that everyone has PRs where they can kind of, no one wants to find out what happened through TMZ. And
Yeah,
it's just
100%.
But he signed to the Browns, but is it all the way through? Isn't he still under?
It's official. He's just not allowed to play because the situation's still under investigation by the commissioner because when he got kicked off the team, it became not the commissioner's problem anymore.
Okay. It's kind of crazy because it's Cleveland, they'll take chances, won't they?
They will because,
that's what you do if you ain't
John
won in 3
Dorsey's the one who
years.
drafted him.
Yeah.
And now he's over there in Cleveland. He wants to give him a second chance, and I'm all for it. I really am. I'm really excited about it.
You want him to do somewhat well. I think for me, it kind of hurts, because you got the Chiefs who were trying to do the right thing.
Because it's his second, third year?
This is his second year. It was his second year.
That was his second year?
It was the middle of his second year.
Yeah.
It happened after his first year.
Because the thing is, you have Kareem Hunt. There's no telling if he's on the field where the Chiefs would have landed. Now don't get me wrong.
Williams didn't do bad.
He didn't do bad.
I think
but you
Williams
have the
did just
game
as good
plan.
as anything Kareem would have done.
Well, here's the deal. I'm gonna tell you what happened. They let him loose. So they defended for everybody else because they didn't want everybody else to beat him.
That's
if
true.
you have Kareem Hunt, then you have an extra,
You have him commanding attention.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so
And there's a psychological factor that when Kareem Hunt wasn't there, it kind of let
it
off.
opened up. They did. They locked down Hill and what's his name wasn't
Travis Kelce.
He wasn't really that much of a factor. So but. And then What's him had a heck of a day, you know what I mean? Because they just left
he
him
had
wide
3
open.
touchdowns against the Colts in the playoffs, and he had 2 touchdowns against the Patriots in the championship.
Right.
So I mean,
so he did, but just imagine if they had to deal with. Just imagine if they had to deal with, Kareem.
Yeah.
Then that would've been
the
a whole
situation would have been different. And like when we played the Chargers, and it was that last drive, and Mahomes ended up getting like sacked on 3 pass attempts, they would have been able to give the ball to Kareem, have him run that clock out, and it'd have been a little different. But that's like a one-loss thing. I mean,
but then also what's crazy is that with Kareem, he's unique because not only if he's powerful, but he's very light on his feet. So,
very Todd Gurley like back.
So he could run through you or he could jump over you.
Exactly.
And he showed that a few times.
That he did.
We wish him success though, except for if he has to play the Chiefs. But then outside of that, you want to see a guy do well. Hopefully he can learn from this mistake. But I think for Cleveland, they just kind of sat there and just kind of watched, and waited, and they picked up a jewel.
But the Cleveland is definitely doing a good job. They had a major turnaround from not winning and
a single game to becoming, almost a playoff.
Oh, they're going to be
Yeah.
a team to watch in the future.
Definitely.
I'm already calling it right now. They're gonna be in the playoffs next year. I guarantee.
Oh yeah, they make it.
Guaranteed.
I don't know. It's still Cleveland, so we have to see.
Pittsburgh is going to be pretty much
A shell of its former self.
Exactly.
I mean, they have Big Ben and
I mean, you got some new up and coming
you got
guys.
some
but
up and
still.
comers, but I mean, even when Antonio and Le'Veon were young, they didn't really make playoffs well. They
Yeah.
barely won out against the
true that.
Ravens
Yeah,
back
it's true.
then. Because that's back when Joe Flacco took the Ravens to the Super Bowl and won it. Back when Le'Veon and Antonio were young.
but with their backup running back that they had behind
James
Le'Veon,
Conner was
he's
and so was Juju this
Yeah.
whole year. Like those two, those are gonna be the guys that
shout
lead
out to
next
Juju because he played that last game when he didn't have to, but I had him on my fantasy. I didn't win, but still.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So next up on the list, LeBron is scheduled to miss the playoffs for the first time since 2005. Ricky, we're not going to start with you. Marquis.
Well, let me tell you where I'm at with this. If LeBron is missing the playoffs, then it's strategic. It's not a thing where their team isn't where it needs to be and they're letting it go. Because we're talking about a man who went to the finals 8 years in a row?
Something like that. Yeah, 7 or 8 times in a row.
With multiple teams.
Yes.
So the thing is, I'm sorry, that's not the playoffs. I misspoke. I'm not saying he went to the finals.
NBA finals.
At least 7 to 8 years in a row. So if he's not making the playoffs and he has the Lakers as a team, it's strategic. Now a lot of people are going to try to say something different, but LeBron is a person who could take over at any point. Now clearly, I think it's understood that even if they were to make the playoffs, they're not going to put themselves in any good position. They have no chance of even competing. They definitely will probably
Because their first team would be against like Golden State
or
the Denver Nuggets.
Or Nuggets.
No,
Either
something.
one.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, if they get the 8 or the 7 seed, they're pretty much just
They're gonna be
the
dead in the
sacrificial
water.
lamb. Yeah, so there's nothing they could do. But
If they don't make it,
then you got a chance of being able to get a good draft pick.
Exactly.
So if they're not going to make it, if LeBron is not, one of the things that I hate that people do is they start saying, like this. All of a sudden, he's not going to make the playoffs, and now he's old.
yeah, he's old. He's not that good.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
He's overrated.
Yeah.
Come on,
He's
man.
overrated.
That ain't even fair.
Well, I mean, I'll say that he did sustain his first major injury this season.
True
and
that.
that's kind of a scary thing to think about. He missed a whole month, right, Rick?
Yes, that's the thing. Before he went down to injury around Christmas time, they were sitting at number 4?
They were at
In the
number 4
West?
before he went down.
And he went out for a month, and they dropped out. So, and now they're like 8.5 games behind.
But here's
So
the thing:
it's
is
like-
that when he came back, they were 4 games out from 4th place again.
right.
There was only 4 games separating the 9th seed and the 4th seed. Now he's been back for the whole past. How long has he been back? It's before
Couple
the
weeks.
All-Star break. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's been back for almost a month now, and now there's 7 games out, and 4 of their last 10 games, 8 of them have been losses.
Mm-hmm.
4 of them have been non-playoff teams.
Right.
So, like,
I honestly think, like, just the chemistry is all off. So first, LeBron James goes down and goes out. But then when he comes back, now there's a big thing with AD. So now if I'm 18, 19 years old, I got a kind of chip on my shoulder because it's like this. I realize now that this is a business. You know, the NBA is a business now. So
as all sports are.
Yeah, but now it's like, even though thought I was a franchise player, like a Kyle Kuzma or a Lonzo Ball or Ingram, but now I realize, like, oh, I can be traded. I can be replaced. So now I think a lot of people was kind of a little in their feelings because that first game back, it was just it's awful. But then also, you know, shout out to K-State. Michael Beasley's been out as well. Unfortunately, his mom passed away. So, you know, he's been out through that. So it's like everyone's saying, oh, it's down. You're missing your starting point guard in Lonzo Ball. You know, you have injuries. You have, like, you know, players are just not there. So, and then you have young players that can score, but they're sporadic. You know, they're still catching in. And I honestly think Kyle Kuzma is going to be great in the future.
He will be. I think he's a real gem. I really feel like he's something that the Lakers have that is very unique, and I'm really excited to see him develop. But I just think no one becomes a franchise player in their first couple years.
Right.
I mean, even LeBron wasn't a franchise player until about his 3rd or 4th year after he had already taken Cleveland to the playoffs.
Twice, though, by his 3rd year.
Yeah, by his 3rd year, the first time he kind of did it, and it's like, this kid's really good, but they could still trade him for some other stuff. But after he took him the second time, they're like, okay, we want to keep this guy around. Zion will be the same way. Zion probably won't be a franchise player in New York until after a couple seasons.
Man, that would have been crazy if Cleveland traded LeBron, but I doubt it. You know that they picked him up, but knowing that this is a franchise player, he's in Cleveland, he's in Ohio, so they've been watching this kid since he was like middle school.
Yeah,
so it's like we know what he has. So I think
But if anyone else would have picked him up, I seriously believe that I feel like they would have kept him, but there would have been talks of trading him at some point.
He was the number 1 pick.
What?
Do you remember his draft class?
Yeah, was it Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony,
Chris Bosh.
Oh,
yeah,
it was a loaded draft.
Yo, check this out.
You're not trading, and he was the number 1 overall.
He was
You're not trading him.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. The fact that
Unless you get like Kobe, then that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So you talking about trading?
He was saying
I was saying that LeBron wasn't a franchise player. Like, he still could have been traded in his rookie or sophomore year.
Okay, thank you for saying that. Because do you know that people are saying that the Lakers should consider trading LeBron? Have you heard that?
Yeah. And the Cleveland fans are like, they don't deserve LeBron James. And here's the thing that's crazy about basketball. People are so emotional. And when people become emotional, sometimes they take the logic out.
Well, I mean, it's the most personal game there is. I mean, when someone scores on you, you get, like, personally offended on that.
It depends on how they score. Sometimes you just
pretty
gotta
much
take
any way
it.
they score. Any way they score on them.
But I'm just saying a dunk hurts a lot worse than the layup.
A dunk hurts a lot worse than a layup. A 3-pointer in your eye hurts a lot more than an uncontested shot. True, but if they score on you, then phew. And even if they make the layup after you foul them, they get up like, and whoa, you're like, oh, man.
Yeah. So next time I'm taking your knees out.
Exactly.
Right. So I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy that, with LeBron, it's kind of hard because you've been, riding it for the longest time. And you do. At the end of the day, everybody has a time that they, have to expire, except if you're Vince Carter. But outside of that, you know what I'm saying?
42? And he's
He's 42, still playing. That's crazy.
That dude, But, LeBron's been the number 1 player in the world for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And now it's he's starting to look a little bit mortal.
And even Vince Carter isn't still on top of the world.
No, he used to be.
He ain't the dunker. He ain't the shooter, anything like that. But he's still.
But
he can still shoot.
Oh, he's a starter.
He's a pretty good shooter, but he doesn't have the same number because he just can't flow without the ball as well. Yeah. He can't get to his spot.
Yeah, true that. But he's still
the the quality of his shot is still good, but the quantity isn't as good.
Oh yeah, this isn't the Raptors Vince Carter.
Yeah.
You know, where he's jumping over 7-footers. You know,
a 20-year-old compared to a 42-year-old.
No, yeah, there's no way you'll be able to keep
22
up with
years.
that.
Yeah. But here's what's crazy is that we say that LeBron James looks like he's broken down. He's broken down. Well, we forget that last year, which was 3 months or 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, he had his best year.
Right.
So it's like
he's coming out of his prime right now.
But I don't think coming out of it.
Yeah.
And what's great is like when you look at LeBron James, he carries the ball too much. Like he has the ball too much.
Yeah.
But he's changing his play style. He doesn't attack the rim as much as he used to do. His jump shot's a lot better.
Oh no, yeah. See, that's why I say he's out of his prime is because he's changed his game to accompany his aging.
No, longevity.
Well, that too, but that's how you stay.
This dude spends millions of dollars on his body.
I know he does.
Well, when the rookies come in and say, "Wow, look at this guy's body at his age."
Right. Well, here's the thing that you could do. Let's compare the two. You have Vince Carter, who's 42.
Yeah.
You have LeBron James, who's
35, 34.
Yeah. So you're almost a 10-year difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? So imagine if LeBron still can play till he's 42.
Exactly. And I think that's where he's changing his thing at because, I mean, even with saying that, I think everyone would say, even though people are saying he's older, he's still in the top 5 in the league.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's crazy for someone that's coming out of their prime to still be the top 5 in the league.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he didn't make it to the playoffs.
But it's just because his skill set's so broad.
Yes.
Like he can shoot, he can dunk, he can pass, he can do all this. He can do all this stuff.
And honestly, he's one of the fastest players on the court at all times as well.
Absolutely, I think he'll be one of the very first players. Is there anybody who's top 10 in assists, points, and rebounds?
I think LeBron is close on the rebounds. We already got the assist and the points.
So yeah, I think he'll be like one of the only players to be top 10 in all 3 of those. Like over history, like as a career.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredibly impressive. And I think he's putting himself in that position to where he has that opportunity to do that by doing the assists and the scoring. He's still able to shoot. He's more passing. He's not passing as much, but he's making better passes. Mm-hmm. And the rebounds, he's kind of like, a lot of people are saying that, yeah, he's not doing good on defense much right now. But that's kind of because he's just waiting inside of the box to get the rebound because he knows he's not going to be able to keep up with some of these young guys who are quicker but not faster.
And I think that his defense thing is kind of going is just where he like you said, he is getting older, and I think he's just taking his breaks and he's just trying to find the right time. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's like, bro, we need you right now. Yeah. And what's really crazy is that he's going down, or everyone's saying he's not playing as well. He's still averaging 27 points, almost 9 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Oh, yeah. He's almost averaging a triple-double, and he's still declining, which is super impressive. I don't think there's anything we could take away from it. And eventually, when we have the whole LeBron James, Michael Jordan thing, I think we'll establish, because, we got to get you two in on that because you're heavy Michael, you're heavy LeBron, and I just want to sit here and say that neither one of you really can say anything.
I think that he's really, Marquis is really heavier on Magic Johnson.
All right, well, yeah, Magic, that's right.
I'm a big Magic fan, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'll give it. Let's just go ahead and make sure people understand and know.
We ain't got a lot of time, though.
Yeah, you got to give it to Michael to be the greatest of all time. It's just.
I'm gonna stop this.
I don't think it's fair to. No, I'm just playing.
No, I think it's weird because. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just
make a statement. Make a statement. Right?
My statement is. People say Michael is the greatest, but it's almost like Michael is put on a pedestal. He's idolized. So no matter what anyone do, as long as there's still older people, they'll say it's always Michael. But if you look at games as far as stats and everything, it's not really quite Michael.
All right,
but he did change the NBA.
You know what else is interesting about that fact too? Because I think what you're talking about is more perspective of the people. Because what you'll have is Muhammad Ali being the greatest of all time.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the perfect record.
And he doesn't have the perfect record. There's a whole lot of different things about what he did, but nobody's gonna say. People would even feel bad to even argue that Muhammad Ali isn't the greatest because of the respect factor. So that's a good point.
But my thing is, there's no such thing as the greatest of all time.
Right.
Okay, game changes, things happen. There are adjustments made to every game. When Michael played, there's no way LeBron isn't playing in Michael's time. Michael never played in LeBron's time.
Right.
There are faces of an era. Michael Jordan was the face of his era.
Exactly.
LeBron James is the face of the current era. And in my personal opinion, I think Zion Williams will be the face of the next era.
And that's interesting. Zion, I'm a big fan of. And he's on the team with other players that are the top recruits that could go in the top 5, and I think he's the better player out of them. So,
Exactly.
But what's crazy is that you never know as far as what injury, and then also when you go into the league, what type of team, like what type of
team you gonna
organization do you have behind you?
That's true.
Like, are you gonna get put in a place where you can succeed immediately, or are they gonna kind of throw you in the background? Like, everybody knows that Kobe Bryant is great, but everybody forgets that he didn't really get a playing time until his second or third year.
Yeah, and then Kobe Bryant was the face of the generation between Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Yeah.
Well, Kobe Bryant we might as well call him like Michael Jordan Jr.
Yeah,
I mean, I know there is one, but
People used to call him that whenever he was.
I mean, the way he walked, the
away.
way he chewed the gum. There's so many. The way
he shot,
he modeled
his game.
He modeled his
but
game.
here's the deal:
definitely.
you guys got a good point. But if I'm gonna tell you, I think that if the Greek Freak mess around and they start winning,
It would take a lot for him to be able to get up there.
The Greek freak also needs to develop a better jump shot. The same thing with Ben Simmons. If they develop a jump shot, then
They could change the game again.
They're changing the game. I mean, you got a 6'10" point guard. I mean, Magic was 6'9". It was nice. But you got Ben Simmons at 6'10".
And he can't shoot a three to save his life.
I mean,
Have you seen how they guard him? They won't even stand at the three. He'll stand on the 3-point line completely alone, and they'll have 4 dudes in the
disrespectful.
It's completely
it's
disrespectful.
like they're like, bruh.
So then for that, he can't even get into the conversation. He may be a good player, but if you got something that's
what's
broken,
separating him from being a great player.
and I take it back. I was thinking about something like that being broken, but then I thought about Shaq because Shaq was extremely dominant, but them free throws were atrocious.
No, but if you let Shaq say it, he said that I make when it counts.
Right, that's true. just like that. Just like that.
Everybody.
Yeah, and then like Dennis Rodman was great, but I mean
He was only one-dimensional.
He was a one-dimensional player, but he was the absolute best rebounder I think I've ever seen.
I mean,
but he was only one-dimensional.
But what's crazy is that this guy wasn't even that tall. He was just a monster.
He was like, what, 6'7", 6'8"?
But not only was it rebounds, but it was defense. I mean, he was 6'8" and gave Shaq problems at 7 foot plus,
Exactly.
and weighed 100-something more pounds than him.
But he was one-dimensional, so he was great. He was great at it.
Defense, rebounds, and he was really smart, even though he was crazy.
I don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't like him as a player.
Yeah.
But he was one-dimensional.
No, no one's talking about him being the greatest of all time, but I mean, being down.
But he was on one of the greatest teams of all time.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, at the same time, he was probably the best at his position, one of the best players at his position.
Yeah, that was a shout out to everyone that said that Jordan never had help.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Kyrie Irving. So all right, next over is.
Not the same when you lead in all stats.
Right.
All right, down the line to the last, almost the last thing of the day, is that Colin Kaepernick got his settlement.
Yes.
So, is it enough?
I think it's enough. Well, I think it's pretty clear that the NFL is not going to touch him. But on top of that, he still got paid. We don't know how much, but all in all, I think Nike won the whole thing.
All the things I said was that it was a minor settlement, and that's probably because everyone who's talking about him in the media is saying that he was going to be a major contract guy. He was going to get max deals. I don't think he was ever even close to that, but they're saying it's a minor settlement compared to what he could have made if he was playing all this time. But I don't know. People are always talking right now that he's going to get a job in the NFL. He's not.
But we'll see. I mean, it's interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't watch him very much. I can't tell you how great of a player that he was or anything.
I only
like
watched
that.
him when he was in the playoffs and made it to the Super Bowl. But
I will say this: I know that there are second, third, fourth, and even starters
that he could be out. Oh yeah,
that he can
but
outplay.
It's not a level of talent thing.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
It's politics.
It's not even. It's kind of political, but it's more along the
it's
lines.
definitely political.
No, it's more along the lines of what does the NFL want to put out. If I was on this podcast, cussing up a storm, saying a bunch of really racist, inappropriate things,
right,
I wouldn't have this podcast long. I would be taken down and everything. So he did the same thing. It's because he went against the company's basic policies. You don't go against the big names' basic policies. The same thing could happen to anybody. Stephen A. Smith, any iconic person, if they were to bite their brand and make their brand and like go against what the core values of their brand are, the brand is going to eliminate them from what they have.
But what we have to do is that we have to remember the history of everything. There was really not a rule beforehand, is that the media made a big deal about it. Before, I think maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, when the national anthem was actually being sung and everything, the NFL players are still in the locker room.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the national anthem actually became a national anthem where it's played during the games at a baseball game back in the
back in like the 90s.
Okay, so
because of the game was bad.
Yeah, we're getting away from your original question, and we're bringing up the whole issue that was Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you get into the point of somebody protesting something, a protest is just that. It is designed to kind of ruffle some feathers because you're trying to make a statement. Right. So the whole idea of him being at his job or whatever that is, and it made it about the flag, it had nothing to do with the flag.
All it had nothing to do with the flag. No, but
even if your boss is saying, "Hey, you know what? For this is what we want you to do is come out here and stand for this," but I'm in protest. So watch this. Mm-hmm. So if I work at a job, now I know this is going to be kind of a little bit different because the protest that he wasn't against his job, but he used his platform. So if I'm at a job and I am striking and I am going outside and I have signs in front of the job and my boss is like, "No, you need to come to work." Now I'm protesting, I'm striking, I'm saying there's an injustice. I don't like what's going on. So people do that. That is not uncommon. So the fact that he was protesting and kneeling at the flag during the national anthem was just using his platform to say, "Hey, there's a grievous injustice, and this is my way of saying I'm not supporting it." And it was first he was sitting, and then he was kneeling because then he wanted to make sure that people understood he wasn't trying to be disrespectful to the.
And it was a veteran that suggested
to kneel.
The kneel.
But here's the thing. The real question should be, after all of that, if you're like, "Oh, everybody is pro," I'm on what is it, 4CAP? You know, you got all these things on social media. Yeah. Now the question is, did he sell out? That's the question. If he gets a settlement and he's like, "Okay, look, I'll get a job. I won't kneel again." Did he sell out?
But it's really one of those they stripped away his opportunity to kneel. So it's kind of hard to say if he sold out or not, because the reason why he had to go after the settlement was because now no team would touch him, which is, which people say is collusion, and it might have been, but at the same time, now that the collusion has been kind of set, like, oh yeah, it was collusion, everyone still has to be on board for there to be collusion. Right, but then also at the same thing, they're all in the same room together. You know what I mean? They're in a club that not everyone can attend the party. But with that. I forgot what I was going to say. My thing is, it's a bad PR move. Because think about it right now.
What part?
The part of the matter of bringing him back into the league.
This is why
bringing him back into the league would be a bad PR move because, hold on. Think about the NFL fans. Mm-hmm. So if there's 100% of NFL fans and 50% of them say, "Bring Cap back," and the other 50% say, "If you bring him back, I'm not going to watch."
Right.
All right? They won't do it. Because that 50% that say, "Bring Cap back," they're still watching. They're still attending. The 50% that say, "If you bring Cap back, I'm leaving," they're the kind of guys who have stuff to do on a Sunday where they want to spend their time watching the game or going to the game. They could find something else. That other 50% that want Cap back, they have nothing to do on a Sunday, so they have the game on.
I have a question. Is there any statistics about the NFL losing viewership
CBS almost dropped them because of the viewership was down so bad.
Okay, so what did they do instead? Because they're still kneeling all throughout this year.
They stopped showing.
They put it on cap, but what they did is they changed the camera angle.
Yeah.
So the thing is,
They stopped showing
that
the bench during the national anthem.
basically what happened was that the media created a monster, and then the media had to fix it in a way.
Yeah.
So now to say that, this is cap, I think the reason why it's such a big deal is that he protested on his own. Like Marquis, when you said that, when you're out picketing, for your work and everything, or even back in the 60s, what they did is they did everything as a group.
Yeah.
So as a group, it makes a much bigger difference. But the issue, the way they changed the narrative, is that instead of addressing the issue, they addressed the person. Mm-hmm. That did it, and it made him out to be like a bad guy. When you think about it and look at it, he actually, he took a stand, and it wasn't against the
NFL, but
it wasn't against the NFL or anything.
It's the same thing to say, like, if I took a stand on here, I'd lose this podcast.
Well, see,
he lost his platform because he said something that didn't align.
But that's the thing. Go ahead.
If he came out, it was cussing, saying, this should happen, whether he threatening people or anything like that, I think then yes. But it was a peaceful protest. It wasn't.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like he came in and he flipped a bench over, kicked over the water stands, or like
People
Odell
died
Beckham
during the process.
Yeah, tried to kick the field goal thing. It was a peaceful protest. So
and what it did is it exposed the real evil that I believe that's in America.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was shifted anyways. Yeah. They made it about the flag. It wasn't about the flag.
No, it wasn't.
It was always about the issues that he was standing up for, and then they didn't like the fact that he had the platform to say it because they put it right there in their face. And that's the thing that happens. It's the same thing they did with Black Lives Matter. When people talk about, Blue Lives Matter. All lives matter. You missed the whole point. You know what I mean? The very thing that they did with that whole thing. And I'm not saying...
It's like they started a protest to the protest.
Yeah, to the protest. Yeah. What you have to do is recognize that, wait a minute, there's an injustice here. And, so this is fine. Now, what Cap should have done, this is where I'm going back to. What happened is Cap did what he did, and he sacrificed everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he lost it. Now, he did probably know. I'm willing to bet after the fact that if he would have known that it would have came out like this, then he probably would have got his butt up and stood up by the flag, honestly.
But honestly, I don't know, because what's crazy is that even after he did it and after he was down, he still donated millions of dollars.
Well, because he had to show, he was trying to show people, listen, I'm not trying to be a bad person here. I'm trying to make sure people understand the issue. I have a platform and I'm going to use it.
I really wish he was here, because I think he would do it again.
I'm going to tell you why that's the issue. Because if he did, because if he did, then he probably wouldn't have taken the settlement. You know what I mean? And he would have been like, no, we're going to go to this one all the way to the end, because I want to make sure that you guys understand that this isn't right. I'm going to stick with it.
Right, but the reason why I think that he took the settlement, because it's not right. If I'm at any other job, not unless it affects your actual work, what they say protest, but they really taking a knee during the national anthem does not affect the way that you throw a ball.
No, it doesn't. No.
At any other job, as long as it doesn't affect your work, they're not gonna let you go for it.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm deemed unhireable, I'm blacklisted for something that's not because of my ability.
As long as it doesn't affect your customer. Protesting's fine, because all it does is it states your opinion about the workplace to the customer. But if you go up to the customer and say you need to leave because this place is that, then you're violating the rules.
Well, just imagine if the narrative was changed. Like, imagine if instead of them saying that, he's kneeling and disrespecting the flag and he's disrespecting America, what if they said, wow, he's standing up for something. Let's really take a look at it and see what's he really standing about. It's not like he's not very articulate and intelligent, and he spoke, this is the reason why I knew. But it was like, no matter what he said, the narrative was changed. But imagine if people actually listened. Would that still be going against?
Right. Now let's pause this, because I think what's missing here is that we have to do what you mentioned earlier, is go back to the 60s. Mm-hmm. And you look at when there was a lot of protests and fights and things like that, you had angry mobs that were angry because people were affecting the customers. They were doing sit-ins. And, black people weren't allowed at these counters. So, and they were affecting the customers. Customers were saying, I'm not going to eat here if you're going to feed these Negroes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that's affecting the customer. You
Yeah.
know, now maybe if they didn't, in your case, you're saying, hey, but they didn't work there, they wasn't employed. But the point is that if you're going to stand against injustice, you're going to get a backlash. And I think what the real issue is, you got to look at the 50% that you were talking about that was saying, hey, if you don't do this, I'm not going to support this anymore. Well, you know what? You the deck-on problem. You know what I'm saying? And that's the real issue.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, because this man is saying, hey, people are dying in the street because of police brutality, we need to do something about this. And you're going to be like, well, you're disrespecting our flag. What?
Yeah.
You know, that's your comeback. We have people who are dead in the streets. I just so that you guys get an understanding of this, because this is a real deal, and a lot of people want to move past and push this thing back. There was just a thing that came out today that a judge was sentenced to 28 years because they were doing this thing called Kids for Cash. He was getting teens into the juvenile system, and he was getting paid $1 million for it.
Yeah,
Well, that's how it is all over.
Right.
That's part of the judicial system, that you have to keep a certain number of inmates in, because then it becomes profit.
Right.
For
That's
the
no
prison.
So
But
clearly,
you know, that's within the last 20 years where they figured out how to do. There's a 13th Amendment.
Yeah,
they found
prisons for profit.
there's a loophole.
A loophole.
Right. But the idea that you're going to push people in, because sometimes the cases, we just saw it today. You have with the Trump Manafort or whatever, gets 47 months in prison, like 4 years of basically, or whatever it is, and you got people who did minor, way less, getting like 3 times the time. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing that's broken. That's why people are angry and they're crying out about the injustice. And that's what we're saying. So we got to bring the focus back to what it is and realize that this is the issue.
Yeah.
I don't care about the 50% that you were talking about. You know what I mean? And again, and I hope that's not you, but I understand your point. But if they're saying, I'm so angry at this and I'm not going to watch it anymore, then our whole system, the whole thing needs to be addressed. That should speak to us. There should be more podcasts and different things, people coming out and speaking and saying, hey, there's something wrong with the very thread of America. If you're so upset with a man who kneels during the national anthem, and all he's doing is kneeling. He didn't burn the flag. Right. He didn't go into war and stop some people. He didn't do anything. He was just saying, hey, in my community, my neighborhood, I feel like there's an injustice. You guys aren't seeing it or talking about it. I'm going to bring it to your attention. And I'm going to kneel during the national anthem. And then now you so upset that you're going to stop watching football? Shame on you.
Yeah. No, my thing about it is that I don't care what he did. I just want to watch the game. I don't care what your protests happened before. I don't care about as long as I just want to see the game. That's all I'm trying to watch.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I never turned to the football to watch the national anthem.
I didn't even get home. I didn't even get home from church until after the national anthem was played.
Exactly.
And it's like I don't even see it.
And the thing is like for a lot of people that have an issue with him kneeling, when you're sitting at home watching the national anthem being sung, are you standing?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you removing your hat? Are you
putting
putting
your hat inside your house?
I just want to say, I do tune in when the Chiefs do their national anthem.
But that's because at the end they do the home.
Oh yeah, and the home. Yeah,
they go hard.
That's dope.
But that's the only one. That's the only one that I go hard for.
Yeah, but outside of that, I ain't trying to watch no national anthem.
Exactly.
Sometimes they didn't even show it because the game before takes too long to play through.
Right.
So they don't even get the chance to show it. The game's already started by the time they switch over. So I mean, I don't know. That whole situation was so bad, and it's been continuously bad, and it definitely ruined a young man's career who would he'd be in the league, no doubt. He'd be a starting quarterback right now.
Yes.
If it wasn't for how it was handled.
Yes.
I mean, I ain't a fan of that he did it, but at the same time, I'm like, man, we could have handled that a lot differently. It's just, that's the wrong time. It's the wrong spot to do it. In a place where it's obviously owned by people who are really proud of the flag. I don't want to say
keyword owned.
I don't want to say like white because we
know
borderline racist, but I'm white. Don't worry. So I can say it.
I don't think that's the way that works, but yeah,
works for you guys.
Right.
You're right.
So no, but like it's predominantly the fan base, especially in the heartland and central North America, is that it's predominantly white people who are at home watching the games. The most viewership happens in between, the Rocky and Appalachian Mountains. That's where the most TV viewership of football games is, because a lot of times big people in bigger cities are attending the games and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So he just chose the wrong platform to do it. If he didn't do it during the national anthem, he could have done it anywhere. I know. I know it is.
It was the right platform.
It was the perfect.
It was the right platform.
It was the biggest platform that he had.
The very fact that we're talking about it today, and it happened, he started what, 3
years ago or some 2.5 years ago.
Then you have to know that it was the right platform.
It was the right platform.
People were angry.
Yeah.
But that's what a protest is.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I understand what you're saying. You got a lot of people outraged and angry. Well, heck, that's what your goal is.
It is.
You know what I mean? And so for that, he won it, and he lost. He lost a lot, but he definitely got his message out. And again, we're still talking about it today. But so we have to deal with it. What we don't want to do is we don't want to confront it. We don't want to look at it and say, okay, so why is this an issue? Can we have conversation about it?
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, the NFL did put together some programs that's going to assist and help with this. So there was a win there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are largely player led. So I mean, it's really. But I mean, I wish he would have done something like that, because I don't remember ever hearing about.
I think Robert Kraft should help to kind of help clear his name.
You saw how he's just gonna throw that in there like
facts. I didn't have that in here, man, but we can open it up. I mean, I think it's funny, but I mean. Yeah. All right. Last but not least, we're gonna just kind of come local down, and we're gonna talk about the last four teams that are left in the Kansas State basketball championship run. They got the semifinals, I think, next week. They got semifinals next week, and then they got the championship in 2 weeks. There's Mays, Bishop Carroll, Basehor, Linwood, and Central. Now, Marquis, you live in Mays. How do you feel about them being the number one?
Yeah, the Mays Eagles are kind of doing their thing, and I haven't been keeping up. But my son, he's been going to some of the games, and they're kind of making it happen. In fact, they play today, so they're doing their thing and making it happen.
Oh, wait, they play today?
I do believe that they may.
Because I know they played last night.
So it must be like a back.
Oh, so they might be back. Okay, so this game might be tonight, and we don't even know. But Mays plays Central. I'm not sure where Central's from. It just said Central on maxpreps.com, which is where I get my stuff.
Central is Andover Central, actually.
Andover Central?
Yes.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, so nice. We got two dogs in this fight.
Yep. So it'll be interesting, and and so your big dogs like your Southeast, your East, and Heights kind of are taking the back seat.
Yeah, they didn't even. None of them are in this year. That's crazy. And then Bishop Carroll plays Basehor Linwood. Bishop Carroll was the 7th seed. They took down the number 2 seed to be here. I think that's really, and they won by 17 points. A big upset. None of these games are close. Mays beat their opponent by 27. Central beat theirs by 17. Bishop Carroll 17, and then Basehor Linwood 18. So I mean, none of these games were even close. So who you guys think right now? Like, I know none of us know too much,
right?
But who we thinking? Ricky, quit looking stats up on your phone, man.
Hey, y'all bring up a topic that I don't know anything about right now, so I just want to make sure I said something.
Ain't nobody know anything about it. It's high school basketball in Kansas.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that is kind of fun. It's going to be interesting to see different teams come up and do some things. I'm pulling for Mays to go all the way just because I got kids there.
That's
None of them play.
Mays is undefeated.
Yeah,
Mays is undefeated. I think.
Nice
Did they play South?
I do believe they did.
So they must have beat South then, because South was undefeated up until all the way to January, and it was crazy. Both Mays and South were undefeated, almost through the season.
Yeah.
So, Ricky, what have you found on your phone, man?
I found that Mays was undefeated. What I like about playoffs and different things like that, especially up to college, is that anyone has a chance for the most part. Mm-hmm. It's like it doesn't matter what your regular season schedule was, because now we're in the playoffs and this is state champion. So now you're not just playing against your local players. Now you're playing against a whole, area where you can't really scout them as much. It's a difference between playing somebody a few times and being able to see them, and instead of just playing them once. And it's just like you can scout them the day before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you only get 24 hours to scout everything.
Right.
And there's so much, and at this point there's so much to watch that you can never be prepared.
Yes.
So
I think it'll be we were kind of doing injustice without giving a shout out to whoever is going to win the Big 12 tournament that is not going to be KU.
Right. Well, they may win the tournament. They could.
Well, I'm talking about
but they ain't winning the conference champ. They aren't going to be the conference champions, which is huge.
First time in 14 years.
14 years, and they
Longest streak.
Longest streak, it record breaking, but I mean, they had some issues with some players.
Yeah,
you know,
they did.
whether it's injuries. I mean, you have top
Azubuike.
recruits.
Azubuike probably is
went
like a
down.
top. He was a first round draft
He's the
pick,
first round.
but
he's out.
now he's hurt. He's broke a leg.
Yeah.
and so
Vic bounce.
LeGerald Vick,
Is he back yet?
I don't think he's back yet. I don't think he'll be back until the tournament starts.
But
which
it
is
was
kind
like
of
family issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, his was family issues, and then was a couple other guys.
They had a couple other players that stepped up and that was
Yeah.
taking care of business that
Yeah,
was
out of their-
deemed ineligible,
with-
whether it was for somebody to pay slips in,
Yeah.
allegedly.
But they were, you could tell the difference because they were the number one team in the nation for a while, and then you have those guys leave,
But-
and then they just fell off.
Yeah,
That's the
No, yeah,
difference.
yeah,
So-
yeah.
but don't
But-
forget about Duke.
yeah.
Yeah, Duke has it. Duke had it the
But I mean, it's
worst.
going to be interesting. So the tournament, I don't know how I feel about it. It just kind of snuck up on me. I didn't even realize that it's
know,
already
right?
March Madness.
Like it went by so
Selection
fast.
Sundays in a week,
Come
and
on,
I'm like,
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, dang, it
You know,
is.
yeah,
we
Selection
got-
Sunday is
we
March
gotta get-
17th.
Right.
We got to get this bracket together.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
I know, right?
TVM bracket, huh?
Yeah.
Be looking for that, Joe. Make sure you guys go to teenviewmagazine.com and
Post your
and
brackets.
I was just playing.
I'm not playing. We're gonna have a spot for you to post your
Right.
brackets. We're gonna see who
Find
wins
us
it
on
out.
ESPN.
Right.
We'll have a TVM gaming.
We'll have a
They already know.
TVM.
Right,
It's,
that's
it's
true.
easier that way.
Yeah, we'll have a TVM group.
TVMagazine.com. We'll tell you how to get,
How to get there? Yeah, no. You thought I was gonna have to put their brackets in there?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Surprise! What?
Joke's on you.
Right.
Yeah, especially since you're the web designer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. I want to thank my guys for being here and having a good time with me. So, I hope y'all have a great day. Catch you next time.